feel like there's some false flags. I feel like some people have briefed me on stuff that's not accurate. But, I don't trust government. I don't trust, and that's, I've been in it my whole life, and I don't trust it. There's a group of folks that inherently, they're power hungry and they're evil, and they don't share yours and my values.
It seems like there are a couple of resident experts on the subject, but none of these experts talk to each other. It's very compartmentalized, and it is, at least for me, it is extremely hard to figure out who is actually a resident expert, who just says they are, and another thing is, why aren't these experts talking to each other? If the common goal here is disclosure, which it seems everybody's beating to the same drum here. They want disclosure, they want disclosure, they want disclosure, but none of these guys are talking to each other. How do we know who's the real deal, who isn't, or maybe they're all the real deal and they just... How are you guys deciphering who the real resident experts are?
Well, that's tough. That's why I don't, jump on the first train that comes down the tracks. I feel like there's some false flags. I feel like some people have briefed me on stuff that's not accurate, but they think it's accurate.
Okay.
So they take an oath up to their knowledge. It's real. And I think it is further discredit the UFO community and the people that are out there. I really do. I think that I don't trust government. I don't trust, and that's, I've been in it my whole life, and I don't trust it. And because it's, there's a group of folks that inherently, they're power hungry and they're evil, and they don't share yours and my values. And whatever that is, and you can talk about the compartmentalization of this stuff and how do you keep something like that secret? Well, I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I back up to Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And there's 6,000 people that work at Oak Ridge that live in my district that I represent, but Oak Ridge is not in my district. But Oak Ridge is where they developed the atomic bomb.
Is it?
Yes, sir. And so, one of them anyway. So I can't remember if it's fat boy or little man, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I knock on doors. That's how I got elected. Because people like TimBurett don't usually get elected to Congress, dude. I don't have any great record. I was not a sports star or anything. Captain of the 1982 Bearden High School football team, but we went 5-5. You might have heard of me. I was slow, but I couldn't catch. But so I knock on doors. I knock on thousands of doors. And I used to say, if you want to beat Burchett, you better just break his legs, because that's the way I do. And I was knocking on this old guy's door as an older man, and he's putting his flag out when I came by. It was a Saturday morning. And I was talking to him. I said, you a veteran? And he said, no. And he was kind of a little embarrassed. And I didn't push it. And he said, I worked at Oak Ridge during the war. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, I hugged him. I said, listen, brother. I said, if it wasn't for you, I said, my dad was on Okinawa. They were getting ready to invade mainland Japan because 1st Marine Division would have spearheaded it in there. And I said, and Truman said there had been 1 million casualties. I mean, the kids were sharpening sticks. It was going to be brutal. That island fighting, and you'd have backed them up into their own homeland. They had the suicide subs and the kamikazes, and they were loaded up. Well, we dropped the bomb, and Dad he had to go to China after the war and fought the communists for a short while. And then, but my point was, he said, I worked on the bomb when I was there. He said, I worked on a fuse. He said, oddly enough, my wife, I wasn't married to her at the time. She worked down the hall, and she worked on a fuse mechanism. And he said, and we never knew what each of us did. You got a couple of thousand people maybe working at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Maybe less than a handful knew that it was for the atomic bomb, knew what they were doing. That's what compartmentalization is all about. Nowadays, everybody's got a dadgum cell phone. Everybody's going to do a book deal or something. It's not quite like that. So you have to. So my theory on and premise on this is the people that knew, like 47, Roswell, the people that knew, they compartmentalized it. It's a different America then. Well, a lot of those people are dead, so there's a complete disconnect after it's been handed off to this department or this department, and now it's in some corporate vault somewhere that has a quasi-governmental relationship, so that we can't get to through FOIA. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I know that's a long way to explain it, but that's why they keep this stuff secret. That's how they keep this stuff secret. Now, it's either one of two things: either they're breaking the technology out, and that's why we're seeing some advances now, or they've got it and they realize that the power brokers in this world will no longer be in the oil business. They will no longer be they'll have to get out and get an honest job like the rest of us. Well, not Congress isn't necessarily an honest job, but you get my point. So I think it's kind of multifaceted. It can go a lot of different directions. But two, I ride motorcycles, as I told you, and I got an old Harley Sportster. It was my dad's. It's 84. It's the newest bike I have, and I'm sentimentally attached to it. I won't get rid of it. But if I took that Harley and took it to the people on the Mayflower, gassed it up, loaded it up, got it all ready, took it back in time, that's basically what would happen with a UFO. They would see this bright, shiny object. They might be able to roll it. One day they might get it started, but they're not going to know how to change the plugs. They're not going to be able to adjust the carburetors. They won't have the technology to make gasoline to run it. They won't know how to put air in the tires. And that's sort of like what we're at, I think, with this stuff, where we have it and who has it. I just think the technology, part of it is they can't get to it, and some of it they've got and are not sharing. Interesting.
How many of these whistleblowers did you guys have?
I'd say we probably, I don't know. I had a list of them, but we Pentagon. One person confided in us that they'd gotten a call from the Pentagon and they decided not to come. And one of them was loosely attached to some group with NASA, and they were going to do their own thing, which we had a meeting with them this week, which was bogus. And two, now government. Now you got to realize government. Chuck Schumer's coming out with a bill on the NDAA, the National Defense Reauthorization Act, that will say that, and all the UFO people are going crazy. This is the greatest thing in the world. They're going to create this entity within government, within the Pentagon, that anything to do with UFOs goes to them, and they decide if it gets out. So, and guess what? If it's a national defense issue, or if it's a government security issue or whatever, they won't release it. Well, guess what? All of it is. Yeah. They're never going to release. That just puts another layer. All I'm saying is, brother, I can handle it. You can handle it. Put it out there. Let us see it. Because I've seen some stuff that defies any kind of logic, any kind of science that we have now.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.